Hey everyone, you're watching Raw Reveal Netwatch, your trusted source for all WWE matches, rumors, and updates. Hit that bell, and let's dive in. Seth Rollins' shocking actions on Monday Night Raw sent a wave of disbelief through the WWE Universe. After years of talking about loyalty, unity, and brotherhood, Seth turned his back on the very bond he swore was unbreakable. What should have been a heroic reunion moment instead became one of the coldest betrayals in modern WWE storytelling, leaving fans stunned and Roman Reigns more isolated than ever before. The brotherhood that once defined the Shield. For years, the Shield represented unity, resilience, and an unspoken connection that made them one of the most iconic factions in WWE history. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose, now Jon Moxley, built a legacy based on trust and sacrifice. And although their paths diverged, the idea of brotherhood always lingered in the background, giving fans hope that the bond still existed beneath the layers of character evolution and championship ambition. Seth Rollins' grand vision. Seth Rollins has spent months shaping his identity as a visionary. He spoke often about reshaping Monday Night Raw, forging a new generation, and leading the future of WWE with a calculated, intellectual approach. Fans admired his passion, even when they questioned his motives. But somewhere along the way, Seth's grand vision became entangled with ego, ambition, and a desire to prove that he, and he alone, understood what WWE needed. This set the stage for his ultimate betrayal. Roman Reigns at his most vulnerable during Raw's chaotic main event, Roman Reigns found himself overwhelmed by rival factions and adversaries from all sides. For a superstar who dominated WWE for years, this was one of the rare moments where he genuinely needed help. Surrounded and outnumbered, Roman looked toward the entrance ramp with a flicker of hope, believing his brother would honor the promise they made only weeks earlier, that the Shield bond still meant something. The moment that broke the tribal chief. When Seth Rollins appeared on the stage, fans erupted, convinced they were moments away from an incredible Shield reunion. Roman locked eyes with Seth, and for a brief second, the trust that had survived a decade of conflicts resurfaced. But Seth shattered it instantly. Instead of charging to the ring, he smirked, turned around, and walked away, leaving Roman to suffer a merciless assault while Seth reveled in the chaos. It wasn't just betrayal. It was cruelty, delivered in a moment when Roman believed he still had a brother. Roman Reigns doesn't forget what Seth failed to consider is that Roman Reigns is not a man who lets betrayal go unanswered. The tribal chief is defined by power, loyalty, and strategic precision. And if Seth was willing to remind Roman of past pain, Roman was ready to revisit the past as well, but on his terms. In the days that followed, rumors swirled about Roman making calls, reaching out to someone Seth never expected. Roman Reigns' 5 words that changed everything during a media appearance. When asked how he planned to respond to Seth's betrayal, Roman delivered a line that sent shockwaves across the industry. "I know who to call." Instantly, the internet exploded with speculation. Social media flooded with Shield clips, fan theories, and excitement because those 5 words seemed to point to one man, the unpredictable, relentless, and beloved Jon Moxley. The legacy of Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley left WWE in 2019 to rediscover himself as a performer. He reinvented his career in AEW, competing with heart, grit, and authenticity. But despite carving his own path, Moxley never disrespected Roman or Seth. He always spoke about the Shield with appreciation, calling it one of the greatest chapters of his career. And he often joked that if his brothers ever truly needed him, that bond would still mean something. Now, Roman needs him, and that silent promise is echoing louder than ever. The possibility of a return. Reports across the wrestling world have pointed to quiet discussions happening behind the scenes. Triple H respects Moxley deeply. WWE's environment has changed dramatically since Moxley's departure, offering performers more input and creative freedom. What once pushed Moxley away no longer exists. And with the Shield storyline reaching a boiling point, the timing feels almost poetic. Wrestling fans know how rare it is for a perfect story to align with the perfect moment. And this is one of those moments, the Shield's complicated history. The Shield's story has always been intertwined with betrayal, resilience, and reunion. In 2014, Seth delivered the infamous steel chair attack that split the group over the years. They reconnected, fought side by side, and reminded fans why they were special. But the past has a way of repeating itself, especially when trust is fragile. Seth's latest betrayal feels like the final chapter in a long history of wounds that never fully healed, and Roman calling on Moxley feels like destiny. What a Moxley return would mean. If Jon Moxley does return, Raw's landscape will change overnight. He's no longer the same man who once entered through the crowd with wild eyes and a leather jacket. He's evolved into a more intense, refined, and dangerous version of himself, one who has conquered every major challenge outside WWE. His presence alone would shake the foundation of Seth's vision, and pairing him with Roman Reigns would create one of the most powerful alliances in modern wrestling, Seth Rollins' vision at risk. Seth believes his vision for Raw places him at the center of everything. He's recruited allies, manipulated situations, and positioned himself as the brand's guiding force. But a Roman-Moxley alliance threatens everything Seth built. Not only would Seth face the consequences of his betrayal, but he'd also be forced to confront the one man he never expected to see again. A brother whose loyalty remains unbroken. The road to WrestleMania gets unpredictable. With the possibility of Moxley's arrival looming, WWE now holds one of the most compelling stories in years. The idea of Roman and Moxley hunting Seth across Raw, breaking down his faction, and cornering him in high-stakes matches creates drama unlike anything fans have seen. And the prospect of a final Shield showdown at WrestleMania gives this storyline emotional weight, historical significance, and long-term momentum. The Shield's final chapter. Whether Moxley walks through that curtain next week, next month, or at a major event, the message is clear. The Shield story is not finished. Seth's betrayal just reignited one of the most powerful narratives in WWE history. And Roman Reigns, the tribal chief who built an empire on loyalty, is about to prove that some bonds may break, but they never disappear. When the moment comes, Seth Rollins will have no choice but to face the consequences of turning his back on the very brotherhood that made him a star.